Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go. I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone. My name is Sarah McCarthy and I am super excited that you are joining me as we break down the following standard. Our standard for today is MA.4.FR.1.2. And the standard says to use decimal notation. That just means that we're going to write it as a decimal to represent fractions with denominators of 10 or 100. So we need either 10 or 100 in the denominator. Those are the only fractions that we'll be converting into decimals. However, this will include mixed numbers, a whole number and a fraction together. That is a mixed number. And also fractions that are greater than 1, which would be where the numerator is greater than the denominator, like in 25/10ths. We'll use fractional notation with denominators of 10 or 100 to represent decimals. In short, we will be going from fractions, converting them into decimals, and decimals into fractions, only using denominators of 10 and 100, okay? By the way, this document that I am marking up all over is not something that I created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education releases to the public, and I'm just showing you in these episodes how I take what they provide in order to break down the standards and create the resources that you have access to with your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. So some clarifications that jumped out at me were that we are emphasizing a conceptual understanding using manipulatives and visual models, number lines, or equations. Now we won't necessarily be using manipulatives in the videos, however we will be using visuals of area models that you can easily connect to any manipulatives that you have. Clarification number 2 is I just thought that this denominators of 10 or powers of 10 are called decimal fractions. That's where we have 10, 100, eventually 1,000, 10,000 in the denominator. Those would be powers of 10, denominators with powers of 10. All right, some connecting benchmarks. So in 4th grade, they have 4.NSO.1.5. That's where we are plotting, ordering, and comparing decimal numbers. There's also this one right here, NSO.2.6, which is where we're talking about 1/10 or 100th, more or less. So we're incorporating fractions and decimals there. 2.7 is where we're adding and subtracting decimals. We've got these measurement conversion standards right here. And then finally we have money real world problems. So what I love about 4th grade with decimals is that we're really making sense of them. We're using visual models. We're connecting it to money. We're showing how it applies to measurement conversions and plotting them on number lines, okay? Not necessarily all in this standard, but these are the connecting benchmarks that help to align with the standard we're talking about today. Where are they coming from? In 3rd grade, they practiced equivalent fractions. And where are they going? Well, they do definitely have work in 5th grade. So there are some 5th grade standards that are focusing on decimals. But in 6th grade, we're also converting fractions, decimals, and percentages. So this is kind of the one that aligns. This 6th grade one aligns to what we're doing today. This is the purpose and instructional strategy section. Here is what jumped out at me. It says that the purpose of this benchmark is to connect fractions to decimals and vice versa, decimals to fractions. And hopefully this will help students to understand that decimals are another way to write fractions. And we're giving opportunities for students to make connections between fractions and decimals in models. We definitely will be providing visual fraction models of the tenths or hundredths, also number lines and equations showing that a fraction is equal to a decimal and a decimal is equal to a fraction, so that students can express a fraction with a denominator of 10 as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. And that also there will be a connection with the metric system in the standard, which we talked about. Cool. We'll be using visual models like this right here to show. See how we have 10 equal parts and 7 are shaded. And the way to write that would be 7 tenths with the 7 in the tenths place. And then I'm noticing, I didn't notice this before, but this right here should not be, there's a mistake right here. This is not 30 hundredths. It should be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 hundredths, which would be 70 hundredths like that. And I always encourage students to put a 0 in the ones place, just so they're able to navigate where the decimal point is in reference to that whole. All right, what are some common misconceptions that they might make? It says that students often confuse decimals as 6/10ths and 6/100ths. I think what they're meaning here is that they will place, like if they see this, they might call this 6/10ths when really it is 6/100ths and vice versa. All right. Students may not understand that fractions and decimals are different representations of, or different presentations of the same thing. So we'll be using number line, models, and other visuals to help students get a better sense of this skill. For this task right here, I said just be careful because this task looks like multiple choice, but it's not. What students are supposed to do is to place them on the number line. So 8 tenths would be, maybe right here, and 32 hundredths would be a little bit past the 25 hundredths, all of which we break down in the video lessons here. And I just made a little note that this is kind of what they're referring to in the common misconceptions, that they would confuse these two as 2 and 5. Even though this is 2 and 5 hundredths, they might see it as 2 and 5, thinking that that is the hundredths place, because when we are working with the ones, tens, and hundreds place, students are used to the hundreds place being to the left of the tens place. Whereas here we've got the tenths and the hundredths place, they're in different spots there. Okay, I think that's it. So let's go ahead and go over what you have access to in your membership. Okay, so here we are on the website. You're going to click Members, enter here. Select Taking on the B.E.S.T on the left. We are working with a 4th grade standard today. So which strand do we want? We are scrolling to the FR strand. And right here, 1.FR.1.2, relating fractions and decimals. You can see here, 4.FR.1.1 was equivalent fractions with denominators of 10 and 100. So that is the focus there. But here we're relating fractions and decimals. Right when you click on the standard, you'll be opened up to the bronze resources. So if you are a bronze, silver, or gold member, you'll have access to all of these resources right here. The bronze resources contains the video lessons and the printable student guides that accompany each video lesson. So the first video lesson focuses on relating fractions and decimals that are less than 1 whole using an area model. So you can see here we've got area models, and they are fractions that are less than 1 whole. The next one, relating fractions and decimals less than 1, again, but this time we're using a number line. So the first one, area model, second one, a number line. The third video is going back to the area model, but this time our focus is on relating fractions and decimals that are greater than 1. So you'll see here that we have where our numerator is greater than the denominators. And we also will connect that to mixed numbers as well, rewriting those. And then finally, relating fractions and decimals greater than 1 using a number line. So there's 4 video lessons for you to be able to share with your students, and also the printable guides if you have the bronze, silver, or gold plan. Now, if you have the silver or gold, you can click here. This is your silver resources page. You can see that you can go back to those bronze video resources real easily. Just click there. And then in your silver resources, you've got printables, answer keys, and then another video. It's different though. It's a math misconception mystery video which we'll get to in just a second. So let's click on the printables. So when that opens up, now we have all of the printable resources in the silver plan together. So you also will have your bronze printables right there with you too. Where if you just have access to the bronze page, so you can just print right next to the video. So silver resources, you have the video lesson that we'll walk through together. And this one will model by shading in the value of the fraction. Then we'll write it in decimal form and write other ways to represent the fraction too. So it might be writing out the word form of 4/10. It might be writing the numeral word form where we have the number 4 plus the word tenths, and so on. Then with the silver plan, you have extra practice. So not only do you have the video lessons for your students to watch and record your notes, you also have extra practice that looks just like what they did in the video lesson. So they can now practice on their own and achieve that mastery. Then we move on to another video lesson. With the number line, here's your extra practice page available to silver and gold members. Video lesson, extra practice, video lesson, extra practice. And then here we have the math mission. This is a math task, so it's kind of connecting everything together. This changes it up and says to model the decimal number 1 2/10 on the area model that is broken into hundredths. Then to rewrite this as 4 different fractions or mixed numbers. And then to analyze an error right here. So here it says that she plots it halfway between 1 and 2. Explain Jamaica's mistake on the lines below, and then plot the correct point on the number line. And then you have the math misconception mystery episode. You can see it's a video icon right there. That is right here. You just click play and I'll walk your students through the entire process. Most teachers like to roll this out as a whole group class discussion. It's super awesome. While other teachers, once their students get acclimated with it, they will roll it out as a small group error analysis activity. So first, students will be instructed to solve this problem on their own or in a small group. After they solve it, they'll watch as 4 characters solve that same problem. Now, these characters are just me dressed up in silly costumes with silly accents. 3 of the characters will solve the problem incorrectly, making a mistake that students commonly make, hence the whole math misconception mystery. One of the characters solves it correctly, so students will have to discuss, decide, and justify who the correct answer belongs to, and fill out their detective report. Then they will evaluate the work of the others. What did the character do that was correct? Because each character does do something that's correct. They just make a mistake. And what do they need to know for next time? All of those answers can be found in the answer key, so you can, my detective report is right there in case you need some help guiding your students there. And finally, if you have the gold plan, you have access to even more. You have your bronze and your silver resources that you can go back to at any time. Remember, the bronze are the video lessons and the student guides. The silver resources are the extra practice pages, the math mission, and the math misconception mystery episode. For your gold resource, you have a mini assessment available to you. You can use this as a mini assessment, or you can use it as a practice test, or just extra practice in general. It doesn't say mini assessment, it just says show what you know, so you can go with that. I tried to incorporate a variety of question types there for you that really get to the heart of the standard right there, all right? So you have an answer key for that right here too. You also have access to the ad-free version of this episode, which is breaking down the B.E.S.T. These videos are available on YouTube. They just contain ads. So one of the perks, the nice perks of being a gold member, is that you have the videos right there with all of your resources, so you can easily click and move around the site. But the main reason why most people select the gold plan is because you wanted access to McCarthy Math 155. This is a daily math intervention aligned to the Common Core standards. Now, I know that it says Common Core right there. I created taking on the B.E.S.T to be strategically aligned to the B.E.S.T standards. However, I had so many teachers and principals asking if I could also include McCarthy Math 155 in the gold plan there, because there are 155 video lessons for each grade level, and you just have to be selective on what you're using. Some of the old standards don't align specifically with the new ones, but they can still help. Let me show you. If we go right here to 4th grade, so we have place value with rounding, we have addition and subtraction with regrouping. If you have students who are struggling to add and subtract, McCarthy Math 155 is here. If you have students that need some help with multiplication, there's 16 video lessons just on multiplying. There's 11 video lessons just on division. And here we have Unit 9, relating fractions and decimals. There are 12 more video lessons for your students to practice. Let's open it up and see what's inside there. All right, so here we have modeling tenths. So really breaking it down. Here we're just going to model tenths. Here we're just going to model hundredths. Here we're changing from tenths into hundredths. Here we're changing from hundredths into tenths. This one we're adding fractions with different denominators. Now this isn't quite this standard, but it's still aligned within the realm of the standard. Here's the one where we're changing fractions into decimals. So day 95, day 96, and day 97 are 3 extra practice videos that will nail what we just worked on in this standard, okay? So you can see there's a lot there for you. Lots and lots, all right? So that is why. If you have the gold plan, it's because you want all those extra video lessons to have your students practice, okay? All right, I think that's it. So we went over the standard, relating fractions to decimals with denominators of 10 and 100. I hope that now you understand the standard, and I hope that you understand what you have access to with your taking on the B.E.S.T membership. So I hope that this was helpful for you. Before we go, I just want to remind you that what you choose to do with your life every day, it really does matter. Thank you so much for stepping into the leadership role that you have, for showing your students what it looks like for you to wake up and step into the best version of yourself every day, because that inspires them to do the same. So thank you so much for all your time and dedication to your craft. I know you're busy, so I will let you go, and I will see you soon. Bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.